Hello, my friends. It is time. It is time for the great conclusion. Or at least I assume it is. This is part 5. And, it's time for revenge, baby, so let's get into it. Once again, from Reddit user Erotius, this is part 5. The taking of the meal ticket. Bring the fire. A little recap. My roommate moved in with a Legbeard, Georgia Beard, who quickly filled our house with cats and terrible housekeeping. She paid for a trip to Florida where we had all kinds of shenanigans. I got sick after we got back and would have probably died if it wasn't for my mother to come take me out of my situation. I moved out after finding out that I had been lied to and stolen from. I was then drugged back with the lies and their thievery because I'm dumb. You are not dumb. You're a good person, and you trust the people who were your friends. You did not know that they would lie to you. Uncle Moonhorse will not let you insult yourself like that. I just won't let it happen, baby. This led my dad, and my old roommate's dad, having to settle up for us so it didn't affect our credit, and I basically told these two, we're through. All cut up? Here we go. So there I sat in my upstairs room, my debts repaid and my friends excommunicated from my life. I was free of Georgia Beard and her shenanigans. I was free of him and his lies. I was finally out from under all of it. I had blocked them on all social media, blocked their numbers on my phone, blocked him on WoW. I told the guild members what was going on, and they agreed that his actions were unacceptable. They asked if I wanted him kicked out of the guild, but I didn't. He had technically gotten me into the guild, so I just didn't want to deal with him. I refused to raid with him, and thought that that was the end of the situation. But it wasn't. Because you see, the whole situation had infuriated me the longer I thought about it. GB had stolen $3,500 from me. She had stolen my best friend. She had used me, and I was fucking pissed. As rightfully you should be. Where did this bitch get off? Goddamn right. How the hell did she think it was okay to treat people like this? Fucking tell him. Also, I'm kind of upset with him because how he treated me. As rightfully you should be. The two of us had been friends since middle school, and the thought that he could slip this far, that really fucking hurt. Then I got a message from him on WoW. I knew how to block his character. I didn't know how to block his account. Im was one of those power gamers who had a character for every situation. She had about 7 characters at various levels. He messages me on another character while I'm online and said he wants to talk. He said he felt terrible about what happened, and he wanted to explain himself. At first, I'm hesitant. I don't get pulled back into this shit again. I was worried this was a trap that would let Georgia Beard get her hooks in me again. I didn't want to talk to him, but I was hurting, so I listened. He swore she didn't know that we were talking, which I doubted, but I agreed to speak with him and hear him out. We talked a lot through text for the next few days, and though I didn't believe all of it, a lot of it jived with what I had suspected. There was no trust fund. There had never been a trust fund, just a loose net of people she took advantage of online. Yeah, I kind of figured that. Let's take a little segue here so I can let you peek behind the curtain. Georgia Beard is part of many subscription services, none of which she's paying for. She had made friends, you see, years before she met us. She would use them to pay for certain things in exchange for, tasteful nudes or services. One in particular, we'll call this new player Doug, because I saw a picture of him once and he looks like a morbidly obese Doug Funny. It shouldn't be funny, but it is. Had recently cut her off, so she befriended this fine fellow and convinced him that she had feelings for him and that they could date. Im was aware that he paid for her WoW subscription, but not that she sent him tasteful nudes and had phone sex with him sometimes. Well, at some point, she had weaseled a copy of his credit card from him, quote, for emergencies, unquote. Well, apparently, our vacation was an emergency because she was spending it up. She was only supposed to spend $500. She had spent something around $1,500, and Doug had gotten angry about this. When she wouldn't return his calls, he had reported the card stolen, and had led to our current situation. She had then reached out and said something to him, what we never found out, but was enough to get him to call the police and tell them it was a mistake and it's fine. So with no crime, they released her and the vehicle, and she cleared it up with the rental car company. She had told Im all of this when they went off for that day after she'd been released, telling him not to tell me because I would think less of her. He told me this and many other things. Many things are the reasons we're still friends and I didn't cut him off and leave him to his fate. You see, M is the linchpin to her current scam. She'd been using M to extort money from his parents. Neither her nor her parents worked, so to pay for things, they would get M's dad to send them money for school expenses. M was planning to attend college, but GB had already told him that most of the money he got from his Pell or scholarships would be going to household bills and keeping her in whatever she wanted. She took any money that he had started selling his stuff, and basically held a place to stay over his head. Real fucking classy. Eros cuts you off. His parents probably hate you now too. Where else do you have to go? If your dad learns you've been taking the money and spending it on school, he'll disown you. You have no options, and once we're married, I'll own half your stuff anyway. You know, I thought she was just a bitch. But with that is just straight up abuse at that point. So she's not just a bitch, she's also fucking evil. She had basically given him Stockholm Syndrome. And after the shit with the apartment, he had kind of snapped out of it and realized he's being used. That isn't even the worst part, though. When we moved to Georgia, M had been a healthy 250 pounds. He wasn't an active guy, a lot of it was fat, though he was never really obese. When they had gotten together, he had put on a little more weight since they had out a lot. When I moved out, he was still pretty heavy, GB still cooking for us about twice a week and taking him out to eat a lot. Somehow I'd missed it during my infrequent visits, but she had been starving him when he lived with her parents. Sometimes I only eat once a day. Sometimes I just eat a bowl of cereal or a sandwich and drink a lot of water, just try to ignore it. But there's always food in the house. I see it every time I'm there. Well, her parents eat, and you see the size of them, and then she eats. I get a little, but not fast enough. The cats get to it before I can get there. They always say just to eat around it, but the floors are filthy, and once the cats have their feet in it, I just can't. They never put anything in the fridge either. It's always eat it before it comes cat's food. He'd apparently lost over 80 pounds. His clothes hung off of him. How had I not noticed this? I'd been so mad at him for lying to me, but I never noticed that he was hurting too. I'd been a bad friend, though I'm not the worst culprit here, and I was already planning a way to spite this bitch and save my friend. Every time I remember her talking about his Pell check or joking about taking his dad for money, it made my blood boil.
Kill him now.
I spent a few days making arrangements, laying plans before I acted. I invited M out to lunch. Just M. If she comes out, I will refuse to go. Just you and I have lunch. We need to discuss some things. Georgia Beard did not like that, but M finally put his foot down and we went to lunch. Not, however, without some drama. First time M came out, she waited on the porch and he told me that she wanted to talk. I don't want to talk to her. Suddenly, someone was yanking on my door and she was trying to climb into my front seat. If I hadn't remembered to lock the door, she would have been in my car and who knows what would have happened that day. She might have talked me into being her friend again. She might have made excuses and snaked her way back into my life. We'll never know, though, because after some time, she screamed in frustration and stomped back in the house. To my displeasure, he followed her. The second time he came out, he begged me to go talk to her, but I was having none of that. Get in the car or I'm driving away and I'm never coming back. To my surprise, he did. I took him to the place where life-changing meals are eaten. Waffle House. I mean, technically, it'll fuck you up for life. I ordered him as much food as he wanted, and finally got a good look at him. His face is gaunt, and he had an extreme emaciated look about him. His clothes were dirty, and I could honestly smell him from where I was sitting. On top of that, he just looked bad. He looked hungry, he looked uncared for, but he also looked really dejected and sad, like depression was eating him up. Yeah, I imagine. As mad as I was at him, I still couldn't stand to see him looking like that. So I asked him if he's happy. Not really, but I don't see a way out. What if I offered you one? I don't see how you could. You're in a mess right now, but I want to help you. She's killing you, dude. You're not getting enough food, you're depressed. Your body probably isn't very healthy from living in that kind of squalor. Let me take you home. Pack what you can. Let me drive you back to Florida. You can stay with your mom till you get back on your feet. It's a good idea, but I don't have the money to pay for gas or food or anything. Did I ask if you had money? You're my bro. Bros help each other out. When he looked up at me, I kind of thought he was going to start crying. We called the police and got an officer to help us move his things out because I suspected there'd be a shitstorm. Now, nothing against police officers. I work in corrections. I'm down for a struggle. I understand their job is hard and they do the best they can. All due respect, this officer they sent was bitch made. She clearly did not take what we were doing seriously. She spent 5 minutes in the house before having to flee to the porch. I get it reeked in there, but come on, man, do your job. And just treated the whole thing like it was a big joke. She let Georgia Beard keep about 90% of M's stuff. In the end, we got 2 outfits, a pair of socks, shoes, his computer, 2 Magic the Gathering decks, and about half of his manga collection. And pretty much told him that they would have to settle anything else in court. Classy. Again, absolute respect for the uniform, but thanks, Officer Bitchmaid, for making an awkward situation even worse. My friend made it out of this abusive relationship and is doing much better. Not that you care. If nothing else, I hope you called the ASPCA about that trailer or elder care or something, because you sure didn't do shit for us. As much as I was glad I got M out of there, I hope that someone gave those animals a good home. The cats were all rail thin. A lot of them had conjunctivitis, and I had actually seen dead cats in the trailer, so that somehow does not surprise me. The dogs looked in better shape, but I think they had an easier time defending their food. Fleas in that apartment were like a friggin' cloud, and I know that the ones she brought into the apartment had worms. They were a nuisance, but I still hope they got help too. As we put the stuff in the car, she called him to the porch, and I thought it was probably about to lose this little empower play. He told me later that she had basically admitted that all of it was a lie. The nursing degree, the trust fund, which he knew, the babies, the house they had been planning to buy, but not her love. She loved him and wanted him to stay. They could rebuild their relationship and start over. She just didn't want to lose him. Just leave. Thankfully, he told her no, and he got in the car. Probably the smartest move he's ever made. I took him back to my parents' house, let him shower somewhere not covered in black mold, washed his clothes, and let him talk about it. He was torn, an emotional wreck. I got him some leftovers and let him talk it out. You wouldn't have thought that he'd been hungry after a whole all-star by himself, but old boy was fucking starving. She kept trying to call him, but I finally asked him to give me his cell phone and hung on to it so he wouldn't be tempted to call her. He used mine, called his dad, letting him know what had happened, and apologizing profusely. His dad's a good sport about it, though. I think he actually tried to take GB to court before realizing that you can't get blood from a turnip. His dad said it was fine and thanked me for getting him out of there. Then he called his mom and told her basically the same thing. They cried a bit. His mom thanked me, and this made me tear up as I write this. Told me that I was officially part of their family. Aww. I was welcome at their house any time, and their doors would never be closed to me. They never had been, but it still made me feel teary hearing it. I told you guys that Mama M was like a second mother to me, and hearing her say it made everything I'd went through all worth it. I asked if he wanted to sleep once he was done. My parents had 3 guest rooms, and he said he wanted a nap before we started on our trip. 4 hours later, we hit the road. I don't remember everything that happened on the way there. He slept more, we laughed about old times, we talked about his pain, discussed what he would do. He blocked her number, finally, and started changing his password so she couldn't hack his accounts. He sent her one last text, basically telling her never to contact him again. Then he blocked her across the board. There was a little party when he got home, and his family gathered around to support him. His family, like mine, could be a little dysfunctional sometimes, whose can't, but I always marveled at their ability to gather close and gain strength. They made me part of that closeness, and I was told again how grateful they were that M had a friend like me. I stayed a few days, but I had to get back for work. I spent the next few months trying to get him back on good terms with Cloud and Ren and the other friends she had pushed away, mostly so they could tell me if she tried to claw her way back in. Ren's about the best guy I know. He's my best friend, and it's a crime that I don't spend enough time with him. And Cloud forgave M for the way he'd been treated. He actually paid him back some of the money he owed, too. So M had a little bit of cash when he got back on his feet. She did try to claw her way back a few times, but we were there to keep him strong, and eventually she stopped. Prologue. My last encounter with the beard. Fast forward about 8 years. I'm in my 30s with a family of my own. I married the ex I talked about earlier. We're actually coming up on our 10th wedding anniversary. Oh, congratulations, you guys. That's really sweet. And we couldn't be happier. We have a young son. I guess he was about 10 at the time, and my parents had taken all of us on a vacation to Pigeon Forge, Tennessee. If you've never been, it's a lot of fun. We usually stay in Gatlinburg and pop between the towns. So we're in Dollywood, the redneck Disneyland of the South, having a blast. We're coming off a water ride, heading for a coaster, when suddenly I smell something familiar. You know how you just commit certain smells to memory? I'll never forget the smell of Father Beard. That gangrenous, rotten diarrhea in your pants smell that hung around him will forever be seared into my memory. I smelled it, and immediately turned in the direction where the wind is blowing. And I see them. They're all 3 in power chairs, probably even heavier than last time I saw them. and all smoking like chimneys in the nearby smoking area. There's a wiry little guy with them who looks like a ferret dipped in Crisco. She's cooing at him, looking more like a beached whale every day. She looked exactly the same, just fatter, and I knew right then that I did not want her to see me. I steered them onto a ride as quick as I could, my wife asking what the hell is going on. We waited in line, I told her what I had seen. Then I had to stop her from going over to tip the power chair over. Wife's a Taurus with no chill, and I love her to pieces. I like her energy. We didn't see them for the rest of the day. It's a big park, and I imagine they got tired easily. But that was thankfully the last encounter I had with Georgia Beard, and I pray that I never see her lardy ass again. Thanks for reading. I hope my pain has brought you joy. This is the end of our Georgia Beard saga, but it's far from the only beard I know. There's still one other beard lurking in this story, and I guess he's a hybrid neckbeard / nice guy. His adventures happened before Georgia Beard, and after his hijinks could have been their own special place in tabletop horror stories too. Maybe if you like, I'll tell you the Vampire Beard story one day, but for now, I'm tired, and I leave the land of the bearded for a while. Have a wonderful day, everyone. And if you like non-neckbeard related horror, come check out my profile and maybe my YouTube if you like. No pressure. Until next time, this is Eru, coming to you live from Neckbeard Stories, reading out the truth no matter how bad it hurts. That was a hell of a fucking saga, my friend. Thank you so much for sharing it. And, you know, I should check out your channel. Everybody should. Everybody should right now. I'll probably forget to do the link thing because I'm, stupid. But you should check them out. That sounds fucking incredible. This was... Holy shit. I'm so glad you got your friend back. I mean... Just... Yeah. Yeah, this was straight up manipulation. This was 100% absolute emotional and mental manipulation. And she is exactly the kind of person who does that kind of shit. Right? I've known people like that. I have seen that fucking behavior so many times before. I could be wrong, and if you ever hear this, you can correct me. But M strikes me as the kind of guy who doesn't really believe that anybody could be that mean. Is trusting and wants everybody to be happy, and once he's with someone, wants them to be happy no matter what. And is very connected to that person. I totally fucking feel that. Totally feel that. I went through bad relationships like that in the past. Not to that exact level, but definitely that level of manipulation and that kind of shit. Like, no, man. That is 100% like narcissistic, abusive behavior. That is crazy. Just anything to get what they want. Anything. There is no limit. There is no bottom. Whatever they want, they'll do whatever they can to get it. And I'm willing to bet that's what that little weaselly Crisco guy you were describing is. He's just another fucking person who she's pulled into this horrible shit show to take care of her so she never has to do anything. Never has to be responsible and can forever live this narcissistic fucking teenage dream. Acting like, oh, I'm just hot shit and I'm always going to be this whatever. No, man. Someday it's all going to come down. Maybe not immediately after getting your friend M out of this, obviously, because she seems to have lynched someone else. But it'll come down. That's what always happens to people like that. Eventually they hit the fucking wall, and they're not ready to go through it. They're not ready to attack that wall because they didn't learn nothing. They didn't prepare for anything. They didn't get anything and make it happen. So they're just going to fucking fall flat. And that's going to be life for them. That's just going to be fucking life for them. But I will say this. Pulling your friend out of that situation was not only the absolutely right, kind, and best thing to do, it is 100% the best revenge. Absolutely the best revenge. It's not just ruining something that she wants or cares about. It's pulling the entire fucking rug out from underneath her. It's cutting everything off right at the root. There is no telling what she had to go through in order to find somebody else to start taking care of her shit. Maybe it wasn't much. Maybe it was immediate. But it made a fucking point. It made a point that you do not get to get away with this shit. And granted, sometimes they do. But you made your fucking point. If there's one lesson she will always fucking remember, do not fuck with Eru. I'm fucking proud of you, sir. I am so fucking proud. This was a hell of a story, and god damn it, that was beautiful. That was fucking beautiful. Thank you so much for sharing this. This was amazing, and I hope only the best for you and your family and everybody you know. Your favorite space uncle loves you, baby. I love all of you so much, and this is the end of this episode, so if you would please like, comment, subscribe, all that good stuff, all that good YouTube crap. There's a bell, I think. I don't know, man. I just fucking work here. I have a Ko-Fi. I have a merch store. I would really appreciate you checking both of those out. I'm a little messed up without being able to do live streams because my internet service provider kind of sucks. But if you can't, that's okay too. Being a part of this family does not necessarily mean you have to check those things out. It just means that you're here and you're loved. And I do love all of you. I have my own subreddit, r/Moonhorse Stories. Send me anything you want. Weird stories, crazy things that you found on the internet. Picture your cat or your dog or your pet. Just any pet. That's fine. It's my subreddit. I'm the one who'll check it. So, I'll see it. That was supposed to be more endearing, but I fucked up the entire line. Anyway, I love you all, and I'll see you in the next episode. Goodbye, everybody.